So this is briefly to summarise what the British government needs to do and what the rescue package currently proposed does not do. First of all, it needs to have a massive cash injection into the NHS to support all the frontline workers, the doctors, the nurses, etc., and all the other ancillary workers that are to do with the NHS that are not regularly mentioned, that are just as critical, such as the cleaners, etc. It needs to massively support the NHS. All frontline staff should have the protective PPE, which it currently doesn't have. It doesn't even have enough masks and gloves. It needs to find sources of them and get them urgently to the NHS. It needs to immediately give financial assistance on a universal basis to anyone who is out of work or is in work but is somehow affected by this virus. So they've either lost their job, or they're on significantly reduced hours, or they're self-employed and now have no work essentially because they're having to self-isolate, and who wouldn't get a sick pay. Anyone like that should be on a universal basic income, not statutory sick pay when they wouldn't even receive a statutory sick pay. They should be on a universal basic income which is linked to the average salary and which will provide immediate economic relief. These should be cash payments essentially from HMRC. Also, all bills, household bills, mortgage payments, rent payments, debt payments should be suspended for people who need it, for people who are not working and who are financially affected by this problem. And all private hospitals should be expropriated and put into public use. We shouldn't be renting them at millions of pounds a day. We should nationalise them and bring them under public ownership. The universal basic income should be linked to the average salary, so it should not be £95 a week. That is far too low. It should be multiple times that, like it is in Europe, in comparable societies. Also, ventilators should be ordered. If we cannot reasonably get access to enough, we should look to British manufacturers to urgently produce them. If we have to, we can nationalise some companies and mobilise people very fast to get this done. And other equipment that will be needed where the virus is causing, respiratory failure and severe problems breathing with pneumonia, etc. All benefit sanctions, all evictions should be ended. They should be suspended temporarily. It makes no sense whatsoever to be evicting people whilst we're under this ridiculous crisis now. And the government should issue clear guidance, not wishy-washy crap like it has been doing. And any guidance that the government instructs should be, where necessary, legally enforceable. It should be legally mandated. So where it's said that people should not be going to pubs, restaurants and bars, it should have legally mandated their closure, such that where relevant insurance policies are in place, pubs, bars and restaurants could claim for a disruption in service on the insurance because the government has legally mandated that they're closed. But currently, with it not being legally mandated, any insurance claim will generally be rejected because it doesn't meet their terms, which would be it would have to be forced closure by the authorities. That's even if it's true that the insurers can afford to pay out on a mass scale, and the majority of pubs, bars and restaurants, etc. actually have insurance like this in place. It's been suggested that the vast majority will not have insurance that would cover in the event of closure because of an infectious disease. So the government is ultimately going to have to be the insurer of a last resort. It is going to have to be, but it should have strings attached where it does bail companies out, and it should, where possible, maintain a financial ownership in these companies so that we have control and profits and can generate future profits that these companies will make. The government's scientific guidance or advice that it's received should be published. This is a political issue, and they're paid to represent us. Of course, they don't fully, but they're paid to do that. We want to see the advice that they've been given. They should be releasing the papers and the advice that they've been given. If these policies are implemented, the effects of the virus on the economy and society as a whole, and the chances of containing the virus and stopping its spread will be significantly improved, because people would more comfortably self-isolate in the knowledge that they are not going to be in financial dire straits. Ultimately, the government needs now to pull its finger out and to protect British citizens. That is the principal job of government. In 2008, we gave 500 billion, that's £500 billion, to banks through quantitative easing, etc., during the financial crisis. We could now have an even bigger crisis if this is not managed correctly. So the measures must be done.